I'm Mike Jankins as we're talking bankruptcy here this morning, and we're just chatting off air. This is about the time when you're supposed to start getting things organized when it comes to taxes. Supposed to. But there comes a situation that maybe you file bankruptcy and then maybe you planned it out where you got a tax refund, Mike.
Well, this is the time of the year where a lot of people, when they come to see me, are asking me, what's going to happen to my tax refund when we file? And I tell them, well, it depends. So there's limits on how much money you can keep when you're getting a tax refund and you're filing bankruptcy, and it depends when you file. If you've already gotten your tax refund before you file, it's not an issue because you should have spent it by the time you file, or most of it, and you probably need to because there's probably things you need. But if it's already spent, it's okay. The problem is when you file bankruptcy and you haven't gotten your tax refund yet and the money's owing to you, now it's an asset. The government owes you money. It's because you paid in too much money during the tax year in taxes, and so now they owe you. And so that's an asset just like your car or your house and things like that, and it becomes subject to the evaluation that takes place in the bankruptcy. So if you haven't gotten your tax refund yet and you filed, each person who put in some tax money during the year is entitled to get some money back and keep it. It's $1,000 for each person under the exemption protections that you get in bankruptcy. So if you have a wife that stays home with the kids and the husband's working, the wife can't claim that $1,000 because she didn't put any of that money in to the tax refund. In other words, she didn't pay in any taxes, and so she doesn't get to get any of it that's coming back for her exemption. I've always thought that to be unfair because they're filing a joint tax return. Right. She is in the household, so as a result of her being in the household, that generates money in the refund too. It's a factor, but it's not looked at that way.
It's part of running the house. It's a job. It's a hard job,
just not considered one by the government.
And it's the same thing with self-employed people. I mean, in an ideal world, the self-employed people are supposed to pay in taxes during the year in a quarterly basis, estimated taxes, and a lot of them don't. So if you can't show that you put in taxes that is part of this refund coming back, part of this overpayment, then you don't get the share in the refund when it's time to get it back if you file bankruptcy. So that person who didn't pay in anything won't get to claim the $1,000 coming back. So that isn't really a good thing either, even though their self-employment may have resulted in it being a really large tax refund, because when you're self-employed, you can actually lose money. A lot of people do, and that gives you a really big tax refund, because if you got kids, then the family income can be all of a sudden very low, and it's because of the self-employed person that all of a sudden you're getting this big tax refund, but it doesn't matter. So timing's very important. When we're seeing people now and in January and February when they're getting ready to file and have filed, it's important. We need to take a look at the tax return, see what they got last year. It's usually going to be a predictor of what they're going to get in a few months if everything else is about the same.
Now, is it better to do to get your taxes organized in December, like now, or is it better to wait closer to April?
Well, I mean, as far as getting them organized, I mean, for most people, there's not a lot to organize. You go to your tax preparer with your W-2 forms and go, here we go, can we get my tax return prepared? Right. And then other people have a few other wrinkles. I mean, if you have a home, then you get statements from your mortgage company to deduct your interest on the home, and you may get other tax forms in the mail that generate certain deductions or shows different kinds of income that you may have made during the year other than traditional income, such as your regular payroll earnings. So yeah, I mean, for many people, you just grab a handful of paperwork and head off to the tax preparer, and in 15 minutes they bang it out on the computer and it's done. Other people, there's a lot of things, a lot of itemizing of their deductions, and yeah, maybe there's planning to do. But for the average person, I would say that if you're historically getting refunds, they're kind of looking forward to it and banking on it actually, and so they're usually at the tax preparer, on February 2nd, as soon as they can get their stuff into them because they want to get a refund. The attorney's got to be mindful of these refunds because you can cost your client money if you don't really think about those things and you go, yeah, we got your bankruptcy ready, let's just get it filed. And then all of a sudden it turns out that they filed their tax return a week later or 2 weeks later, and lo and behold, they're getting $5,000 back. And guess what? They each work, so they get to keep two. And they'll be sending $3,000 courtesy of the bankruptcy court.
Wow.
It could have been avoided. Most of the time, you just wait to file till they got their money. This money comes back pretty quick these days. Direct deposits,
Right.
you know, you get it back in about 10 days. You don't have to do that rapid refund stuff. That costs you money. So you just wait a few weeks. Wait till the person gets their money. They got stuff they need. They get it, and then they file, and then they get all the money. Now, you can still get big tax refunds and keep the money because it depends what's making up your tax refund. There's the part where they're giving back the money that you have withheld in federal tax. That's the refund. But then you have people who are lower income, have kids, and there's entitlements that can become part of your tax returns or tax refunds. One of them is called earned income credit. Often that's for single moms, head of household type things. But then there's another component that sort of directly connects to it. It's called additional child tax credit. These are monies that the government is actually giving folks that is beyond what was taken out of your paycheck in federal taxes. If you had in the year $1,500 in federal tax taken out, you're getting all that back, and you may be getting another $4,000 or $5,000 to boot on top of that.
Really?
So that isn't generated by anything you did working. That's just you met a certain income level and had certain circumstance, and the government says, here's a check, have fun. And those components of the tax refund, they're protected. They're basically a government entitlement that has been set up for lower income families, or at least those that are defined by income and the amount of kids in the household. And so, frankly, it was set up by the government so those people would have some extra money to take care of
I'd say lots to cover, lots to know.
So if you are in the midst
get an
of
expert.
Filing a bankruptcy, you might want to get a hold of Mike and the gang over at Iowa Bankruptcy Law Firm.
Timing matters.
There's how you get a hold of them, info@iowabankruptcylaw.com. Go to the website and get there more information from them, 255-1855. There it is. Ding, ding. Ring the bell. So just make sure you take advantage of what they have to offer. Great job. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you.